Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming to our first budget meeting. Tracy, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Askov,
Present?
Commissioner Bonfiglio,
Here.
Commissioner Cos,
Here.
Commissioner Lucibella,
Here.
and Mayor Pugh.
Here. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's get right into it. Consideration of the fiscal year 16-17 proposed budget. Jamie?
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. I'm going to wish to give you an overview. You have packages in front of you. The first thing I'd like to do is just you have an errata explanation sheet in front of you that didn't come with your packages last night, but it just has a couple of interpretation or footnotes on the package in front of you. You putting that up there, Tracy? And I just want to point them out because they're global issues for you. The first bullet is to, when we get into the actual columns of the budget portion, I labeled the last column different percentage, which confused a few people because it indicates a percent of the budget of FY17 as compared to FY16. So by example, if it says 105.1%, it means it's an increase of 5.1%. I think in the past that's been displayed as like plus 5% or minus 5% accordingly. The next one is the two gray columns in the middle are FY16 current year, 8-month year-to-date reconciled columns, and they're just a snapshot for us. They're working columns so that we know where we are tracking through the year. On page 11, there is a at the bottom where I list various employees of the town. There's a slight recalculation in the full-time equivalents. It should read 9 officers, 4 reserves, and technically a 5.5 FTE on dispatch where it says 6 for a total of 26 positions. I make a note here, this is a living document and the values contained within will change according to your legislative direction and priorities.
This is the Constitution?
This applies to everything. People didn't get this in the package, so I need to make sure they know this stuff. So obviously, each meeting we have on the budget, as you change numbers, appropriations, priorities, that will affect the whole document and things will flow through the spreadsheets. One of the significant things I found out, we found out internally researching this today, and I appreciate my staff for bringing it to our attention. There was a law change on July 1st that we're researching thoroughly in the state of Florida that will probably prohibit us from charging fees for business tax receipts unless businesses reside in the community. Technically, that could reduce our revenue side on this budget up to $16,500. You'll see where that's plugged in 321-100 and 321-200. And then finally, towards the back of the book, there's a 5-year capital investment plan worksheet, and this is for conversation at this point. The items that are listed on there are not funded in the GL portion of the budget, but as you prioritize which things you want to spend money on, some of them would wind up in the regular departmental budgets, and others will have to be appropriated for on an ongoing amortized basis should you want to prioritize and deploy them. So those are notes on the global book. Also in front of you, just for your reference, is a small chart that shows, pull it down there a little bit, Tracy, thank you.
Yeah.
This shows a couple of variations. You'll motion tonight on the official rollback rate, which generates the same amount of revenue to the town if it were applied to this year's valuation. You, in the green bar, you see our proposed rate for keeping the flat 5.35 millage rate. And then there's 2 other examples of values in between or over that and the differences of what they generate to get an idea of how incremental tenths of a percent generate additional funds or less funds accordingly to the budget, depending on how you
Define
adopt it.
rollback rate for me again.
I'm sorry?
Can you define
The
rollback
rollback,
rate for me?
yes.
That's the rate to generate last year's income?
Yes, taking into consideration adjustments that are made at the property appraiser's level as well as the increase in valuation. So the rollback rate, if applied, generates technically the same dollars as the previous year with no increase.
And legislatively, why do we use 97% budgeted? What's the significance of that?
It's to provide safety cushion for the town. The actuarial collection rate is usually 98 to 99% or higher, but there are people that are delinquent in paying their taxes globally, and there are also adjustments that are made throughout the year by value adjustment boards and other entities that can affect that final number. So by law, we have to budget at least 95%, and the rule of thumb we've used in most cases is 97%. It's a good, hard-working number that usually comes true.
So this 4398361 represents what our actual expenses were for 2016?
No, that only represents the revenues generated from that
Okay.
millage rate, and then the column next to it is that same number at 97%.
Okay, then I'm confused again.
Okay.
What is 4.9891? What's the significance of that number?
That number generates what they consider a no tax increase in the amount of
Thank you.
revenues that are raised compared to last year's
Okay.
revenues.
Okay.
The number could be different than last year's because there are other
Right.
formulations that are applied to it.
I have a question here, if I may.
Yes.
On this thing where you said there was a change in the Florida law effective July 1st regarding business tax receipt, does that mean that we can't charge a business, they can't be registered to work in our town?
No, we can register businesses. We're still researching this, and we're going to involve our attorney in this, I'm sure, to make sure for clarification purposes. But it appears that they successfully lobbied the legislature so that, for example, we've charged insurance companies in other states for the privilege of doing business in the town, as an example. So we charge them a business tax receipt because they're doing business here. What the law says is because they're not located here, we can't charge them that fee. That's been legislatively enacted.
Well, what is the definition of here? Does that mean
Uh,
Ocean Ridge
here
or
within
Palm Beach
the
County or within the state?
Municipal, no, in our town. In our context, it's within our town. And of course, we don't have commercial zoning except for, a handful of exceptions. So that's why I think we might take a revenue hit.
Under what
From that
condition would you
legislation.
give an example of an insurer that you would say, send a bill to and say, here's,
Lisa, how many letters did we send out?
So that's, the insurance thing is separate, I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tax receipt is different, but let's say like a lawn maintenance company.
Okay,
Wants to
yeah.
register, so it's a $50 fee.
the things that we think of normally, that Gail was referring to, I'm sure, when a vendor comes in and we register them. So can we just charge them a registration fee?
Well, that's what we do, don't we?
But just up it by $2 and we're.
Well, if you're
Okay.
countywide, it's $2. If you're county only, it's the 196. Now we can't charge anything?
No, it's prohibited now. It actually says in the new law, registration or business tax receipt. It says both.
So how do
So
we
you can't,
register these?
it's like double charging
So
them,
why don't
and
we
that's
charge them for a
why.
background check?
Yeah, exactly. Come up with something to replace the revenue.
I know we're getting
If
off
they
the
pay-
subject, but how do we know then who's working in a town? They still have to register?
You can still
Well, you
register
can
them,
still-
they
But
can
they don't
require.
get taxed on the registration.
You can
We're still
register,
gonna
and I guess
require
fine if they-
decals.
All right, well then what we
register
gotta
fine
do
if
then
they
to
don't
offset that
register.
tax is to raise the
Right.
permit rates and stuff, or something like that.
You'll have to absorb it somewhere else, yeah, to recapture that revenue.
You're gonna have to recapture the revenue somehow.
But you
But
should
we-
recapture it from the vendors.
Yeah, well, you
They
are
pay
if
it
you have a
anyway.
permit.
Indirectly,
Well,
but through the
indirectly.
permit cost.
But that will have to be revisited under separate action if you're going to adjust your permit
$2 for
fees
crying out
or,
loud?
we charge lots of money for the decals, make them really colorful and fancy.
Criminal
All right.
records check.
Okay, what I'd
That's what they do.
like to do,
Discount double check.
sorry. What I'd like to do is just do a real quick run-through of the overall book, and then we can go back and answer whatever questions you have, and I won't go through all the individual stuff in the deference of time and the commission. So flipping through the book, you have, of course, the cover, the title page, the table of contents. New this year, you will see there's about 3 or 4 pages in, a flow chart of all the town employees. And this lists everybody that works for us in some capacity and their relations in the town hierarchy.
Where's the,
I'm sorry, it's right in front, it's right behind the table of contents.
no, I'm saying, but where's the, our, a lawyer on the sheet?
He's,
Wouldn't that be a contract?
Way up top.
He's way up at the top under the elected mayor and town commissioners. And just for the
But he's
record,
also a contract, right?
yes, he has a contract, but so am I, and so is your police chief. So there's still, and so is your town engineer and your building official and your zoning official.
And they've got to have him, he reports to the commission, so he's in the right spot.
Yeah,
See, they have to elevate the attorney above.
I see that.
Because
Yeah.
he is an attorney, you know.
I was gonna put him above the bar
That's
that's,
exactly it. You just went right to the heart of the matter.
I'm just wondering, on mine, how come the town attorney's names are in pencil?
I was gonna put him above your bar, but I ran out of paper at the top, so
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
it's okay. But I did wanna point out, somebody brought to my attention that it may be confusing. It says elected mayor and town commissioners. It's actually the elected body, and of course, you appoint the mayor from within yourselves. So just that footnote there. The cover letter for me is just generic, acknowledging how we put this together and thanking everybody. On behind the cover letter, you have the DR 420 form. This is the Department of Revenue and Property Appraisers form that actually defines at the rates we're talking about what our valuations are and what they will generate and what the rollback rates are, et cetera. And later on in this meeting, you'll be voting on individual motions to acknowledge ministerially those values. Next 2 pages are blank. They will be filled in subsequent meetings based on the process. Starting on page 1 of the digital database, the first 2 pages, you have line item revenues listed for all the various revenue sources. And just for the point of reference, in the second section there, under the 321 series, that's where the $2,500 and $1,400 are shown that I said might be in jeopardy as of that legislation. And at the top, the very top line, the 4616, 167 is the 97% revenue at the proposed 5.35 mils. Then you get from page 3 on, you go into individual expense. I'm sorry, no, page 3.
Shouldn't burn the midnight
I'm sorry.
oil.
I'm getting caught up here. Page 4 is the summary revenues and expenditures as juxtaposed to each other. So you have the balanced budget by showing that those items come to 0 under the proposed numbers. Then we get into individual department expenditures. First one on page 5, starting on page 5, is the town commission budget. The next one is the town manager budget. The next one is the town clerk and treasurer expense budget. Next one is the legal services expense budget. Next is appointed boards expense. Then general government services expense. Next one's law enforcement and fire services. That's where I gave you some notes on the changes on the full-time equivalents at the bottom. Inspection services is page 12. That would be our building and zoning and inspection services. Page 13 is the garbage and solid waste services contract. Page 14 is other physical environment and services. So, our town engineer and some of those related functions go in there. Page 15 is our public works expense budget. Page 16 is transfers and contingency fund. And page 17 is a 5-year capital plan worksheet, which again is shown for, at this point in time, suggested amortized values on certain functions. And in the case of the first section, with the police department, a wish list of things that we might wish to buy and deploy in the town. The final sheet on page 18 is the HR worksheet for all the employees of the town and the remuneration table. This shows every officer, every employee, their date of hire. If they're color-coded, it means that they have an adjustment due to them in this fiscal year. Therefore, you have a fiscal year salary, and then you have a fiscal year 16 year-end adjusted salary, meaning that at October 1, FY17, those values will be in place. Then the final two columns on that chart indicate a bracket of 2% to 5% in merit evaluation raises for all employees. So those numbers are up to, in other words, if you got top evaluation and the top evaluation was 5%, that would be the top number for that particular line item. And then the totals across the bottom would show you the difference between the increases at those incremental levels as applied. And there's color coding key there to explain that for you. Now, with that all said, I'll go back and go through any and all sections and questions you'd like to talk about.
Question? Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Is this on the website yet?
Yes, it is. It was on this morning.
What is our 2016 millage rate?
Our current millage rate is 5.35 mils.
It is 5?
Yes.
Okay, and that's-
So
and
we're
you recommend-
proposing, I'm
okay,
recommending a
okay.
flat millage rate, which represents a 7.23% increase in valuation based on the town's increase in valuation.
I just want to comment that I haven't torn into this as yet. We have time for that, we all know that, and it's a complicated process. So I can't speak in terms of substance, but I will tell you, from the standpoint of form, this is spectacular.
Thank you,
Really-
Commissioner.
Really, really well presented. Thank
I
you.
hope the substance is good, too.
It better be.
One note, I'll talk to you about the construct of this budget this year. All of the GL codes and all the numbers are directly downloaded from our fund balance technology software, which means that the numbers here represent the actual numbers we work with in our finance, accounting, and auditing. So those are not divorced from each other. They're inextricably married. So I think what that does is it, for example, in your first column and the 2015 columns, those are all actuarial numbers. So if you pulled out an old budget book from a couple years ago, you might see a couple of variations in those numbers. And that's because these numbers are the audited numbers that ended up as it is journalized and audited in our accounting software. So these are quite accurate. Now, will you pour through this and maybe find a typo here or there in a number? I can tell you, having stayed here late, that you get a little blearied on 18 pages of spreadsheet, so there could be an anomaly, but I'm pretty certain it would be de minimis if it occurs, and we can correct it as we go, because, as I said earlier, the cascade of numbers will change every time you make a change through the process. And then, of course, we have to balance for it. If you increase revenues, we have to increase expenses. If you decrease revenues, we have to decrease expenses, so we have that balanced budget by law at the end of the process.
All right,
Thank
any
you for
other
your
questions?
compliment.
All right, let's move on to certify the rollback rate. Jamie?
Yes, we have a series of motions that we will need to go through here. The first one is to certify the rollback rate as it's reported to you here and as is shown on the DR 420. In your book, you have a copy of suggested motions, so we would be looking for a motion to certify the rollback rate, which is calculated by the property appraiser at 4.9891 per $1,000.
So you want to make a motion?
Before we do that, let me just comment, I'm comfortable, having only reviewed this starting at around 7:30 this morning, on my way to the courthouse for a hearing, or on my way out of the house. I really didn't have a chance to really go through this, but I did kind of glance through everything. I am probably going to be comfortable with 5.35 mils as the rate My concern is that
Well,
some,
remember, that's the max rate.
I know, that's my
So we
point, is
still
it,
can go down from there.
but we can't go up.
Right.
That's right.
And my concern is if something happens in the next 2 months between now and the time we have to actually adopt the budget, something may happen that would require an expenditure of additional funds that we have not really considered. So,
Yeah, we got a pretty good general fund built up for that, though.
I understand that, but you never know. We have 2 months where there might be a hurricane, catastrophic event to our building, some of some other things may happen. We would be stuck at 5.35 mils as opposed to being able to budget that in that cost into next year's budget. So like I said, I'm probably going to be voting for 5.35 mils at the end of the day because, if nothing happens, it looks pretty good, but I would like to see that, I would like to ask that the maximum millage rate be established at 5.45 mils, which gives us approximately $100,000 cushion if you're looking at the draft that we got here. Just in the event something happens in the next 2 months that we did not anticipate. And we can always come down, but we can't go up. So that's my only concern. Like I said, I'm comfortable with 5.35 after my preliminary review of this thing, but just in case something happens that we don't know about.
So often I disagree with you, Commissioner, and you convince me, and you pull me over to your position. In this case, I have to disagree. That 100 grand is easily covered by,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
That's the judge.
That $100,000 is easily covered by the surplus we have.
increasing the millage.
Yeah.
Easily covered by the surplus we have, and I think that getting into the habit of doing that is a really slippery slope. I'm confident we can do this at a max of 5.35.
Well, the only reason I would disagree with it is because when we had the Gatsby report, and we had all the fact that what the general fund is, and we've already collected most of our taxes for this past year, and we know exactly what's in there. The whole plan is to have that extra money in order to cover the cost if we had a hurricane and we did all that stuff. So we have a pretty good-sized cushion in there now. I mean, I just don't want to, and it is also a thing of the visual side of it. So, I mean.
The other thing is if we actually burn through the surplus, that means we've been so devastated that $100,000 isn't gonna mean anything.
That's a good
But
point.
we're not setting the millage right now at 5.45. We're saying that's gonna be the maximum amount. And like I said, after looking through this, I'm comfortable with 5.35.
Believe me, I understand exactly what you're saying, but as the press is sitting in the back of the room now, when they put it on there, that the Ocean Ridge is going to, their maximum millage rate is X amount, set their maximum rate X amount. I'm sure you'll get a phone call, oh my gosh, you're not doing anything with the taxes, and it's just, a lot of people just don't understand that this is just the process.
Well, I have
And by
confidence-
raising it over what we're paying now, I think it'll be like a small mushroom cloud coming over across the Ocean Ridge. I'm just, over the other years of doing it.
Or it'll be nothing at all, but in either case, you're talking about $100,000 that we've got in pocket, far more than that in pocket.
So anyway,
Just a thought.
I'm not,
And I'm confident our residents would be sophisticated enough to understand the difference.
I doubt that.
I'm not saying a word. I am not gonna dive into that one. All right, so basically what we'll do here is each one of us make a motion for each one of the items.
We need to do these separately.
Right.
All right.
So we simply read the motion.
Read the motion.
So I'll start. I move that the rollback rate be certified at 4.9891 per $1,000, and that the certification of taxable value form be executed to reflect this for submission to the property appraiser and tax collector of Palm Beach County.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 2.
I move that the maximum millage rate for fiscal year 2016, 2017 be established at 5.3500 mils, and that this be included in the certification of taxable value form that is forwarded to the property appraiser and tax collector of Palm Beach County.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 3.
I move that the first public hearing to consider the budget for the fiscal year 2016 through 2017 be held at 5:01 PM on Monday, September 12, 2016, in conjunction with the regular Town Commission meeting, and that this date be included on the certification of taxable value form that is forwarded to the Palm Beach County property appraiser and tax collector.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And number 4.
I move that the second final public hearing to consider the budget for the 2016-2017 fiscal year be held at 5:01 PM on Thursday, September 21, 2016.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion?
Yes. Can we look at a calendar?
I'm looking at it right now.
You are.
13th, which one are you looking at?
21.
21's on a Wednesday.
Is there any holidays?
I don't see anything in there. That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
doing. I was looking at it
21
like,
is on a
no, there's
Is
Thursday.
there
nothing there.
elections? Is there, nothing pops, huh?
Nothing pops up.
This is a bit of a jigsaw puzzle because we have dates we have to fit within and also not conflict with the school board of the county on their dates as the hierarchy of taxing authorities goes.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Okay.
Mayor, we also need to set a budget workshop sometime in August, because that was skipped over. It's number 4 on the agenda.
Yeah, this is A, B, and C,
Or
right?
A.
Yeah, it's 4A.
Oh,
Oh,
4A.
okay.
Meeting minutes, budget workshop.
Just for a point of clarification, the 2 meetings you just said in September are the official public hearings, and that's why you've got to have 2 of them. They have to be legally advertised. The first one will be advertised actually on the trim notice that goes out to your residents. The purpose of the meeting setting in August is to provide a workshop setting for you to go through the meat of this and wheel and deal with whatever numbers you may want to tweak or address.
And so you're expecting the 12th and the 21st are basically just formality meetings because we've already hashed everything out.
Well, no, you still, I mean, obviously you need to involve the public, and I'm sure you'll have many members of the public that will want to address particular items or priorities, but.
Yeah, you'll have them at the tentative, but then the final. Last
But
year
that's
there
up
was
to you
2
if you
people
don't,
there.
if you'd rather just mull through it individually and bring those priorities and concerns to the first public hearing and then
No,
interact
we
with
should have a
residents.
workshop on this, and we should, in August. And-
Absolutely.
and
What
Absolutely.
day you guys
Because
wanna
we
do?
haven't had a chance to, I haven't had a chance to look at any of this yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate to have to approve this in a 1-hour back and forth.
Yeah.
That would be the
So you-
purpose
we-
of having
we
our
usually
meeting in
do-
August.
We usually do the workshop, and we do the tentative,
Agreed.
and then we do the final. The
Agreed.
final, like I said, final's pretty much a fait accompli, because it's
Yep.
done.
Yeah.
Very rarely is there any changes on the final. All right, so, anybody have a particular day in August they want to do this?
I'll be
Second
away
week,
in
first
August,
week?
but I don't know when yet.
Oh, my gosh.
I haven't,
Oh, first week, I'm beginning the 4th, I'm out of town, so,
Till,
till, I'll be back on Monday, the 8th, so we can do it on the 8th, 9th.
do you want to do,
You want to do a Wednesday night instead of a Monday in the
Wednesday.
case of a workshop, or
Wednesday, 10th.
The
10th
10th?
or the 17th?
Wednesday the
One
10th?
of those 2 days. No, the 10th would be,
Can we push 1 week on?
which
17th,
way?
24th, or 17th?
we can do the 17th?
What's in the
Cal?
I'm not sure, a lot of it depends upon my daughters up north and when I go up.
That's not good for me, because I got a trial on the 18th, and I got to prepare for it.
What do you want to do, Tuesday the 16th? Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we can we just, do we have to set this meeting tonight?
Not really.
So why don't you just
No, it's a
pull
workshop.
like you normally do for a meeting and figure it out between, get all the dates tomorrow or Friday? And
You can set the date at your August 1st meeting.
Yeah.
We can add that
Yeah,
to
it's
your
a-
agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I would say, it looks
You'll know
like to
by
me it's
then?
gonna be somewhere in the third or fourth week in August, so.
Okay, so you'll have the clerk poll all of you for available dates, and we'll bring a
I'll give you-
recommended.
You want to take mine, 15, August 15, 18, 19, 22, and 23 are good
That
for
you're
me.
Oh,
available.
well then,
That's my
just
available
sign
dates.
me up for all those dates too.
I thought you had a trial on the 18th.
Those are good
I
for me.
skipped the 18th, I said the 19th, 15, 18.
Well, 19th is a Friday. We gonna go live?
15
We gonna go
I
out
can-
after that?
It's the 18th.
19th is a Friday.
Yeah,
And I can come 18 after my trial.
18th is not good, 18, 19,
Are
20.
we still doing it at
Wait a
5
minute, unless they're
o'clock?
5:01.
You still wanna do it at 5 o'clock?
If it's
or
a
you
s-
wanna
Why
do it-
don't we
6:01 I
just
can-
set it at the August meeting, then Gail
All right.
will probably have a better idea of when she's in
Oh,
town.
no.
So we just set it at the August
If
meeting?
you do it at 6, I
You
can
can,
come
but
after
she
the
can
trial.
just, between now and then, figure, I mean, ask Gail. Gail will be able to find out when you're gonna be going, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
To
however you
get the whole
wanna-
month
however
or-
you wanna do it.
Just poll them and then figure. You could do it if you wanted. I don't know if you wanted to do it after the August meeting. If you guys wanted to stay late, do it after the August meeting.
August meeting is the 8th, I can do that.
It could.
The
yeah.
budget meeting could go.
Or you wanna do it just the next day after. So that's what I'm saying. You may wanna just think about it. Because the budget meeting usually goes at least a couple hours or so.
Do you need to notice that?
Yes.
And how much notice?
It's, we usually do a standard 3-day.
Okay, that's all that's required.
Yep.
Okay.
And just a request from staff, it was a little tough doing a commission meeting and then preparing for this workshop 2 days apart, so if we can move them a week apart or have them on the same night or something, just
It's always about you, isn't it?
It's
All right,
about
so,
efficient delivery of quality materials for your decision-making process.
He's a politician too.
all right, so
I
we'll,
love 'em.
we'll figure it
15-year
out.
recovering politician.
All right, well, I guess that's it. Thank you so much, Jamie, and Tracy, Al.
You
Great
need-
job so far. I mean, I'm looking forward to getting it done. Anything else, anybody? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming.